Hello, I'm Jeff Johnston, host of the Living Undeterred podcast. This is a special edition of the Living Undeterred live stream. I am beyond excited and thrilled to share a very exciting announcement tonight. And for those of you that have been following our story, you know that I have been through a lot personally, as all of you. And that's the amazing thing about this journey is, as tragic and as unfortunate my story is, we all have a story, and it's very important to each one of us. And tonight I'm going to share a project that I've been working on. Actually started this in late May. And I think, again, as you follow my story, you know that I had another unfortunate event happen. My wife passed away about 8 weeks ago. And so in the last 2 years, I've lost our son, Seth, at 23 years old, and my wife at 46. And so, and yet I want to believe I'm a better man, and I believe I'm a better man and not a bitter man. And I'm going to talk about that tonight, a lot about how this journey has unfolded. But before I get to what I want to cover tonight, I have a couple announcements as well. The audiobook is finished. So my book, this one's for you, An Inspirational Story Through Addiction, Death, and Meaning. All the profits go to my nonprofit, the Choices Network. The audiobook is now complete. So those of you that have read the book, you can listen to the audiobook again. That probably add a little bit more value to it. And for those of you that don't like to read and you like to just listen to books, now you can. So that's coming out September 10th. So not right now, but we just got to wrap up a few things. But then September 10th, you should be able to get that. And then I also got asked to be a speaker at a CRUSH event. And CRUSH stands for Community Resources United to Stop Heroin. And I'm going to be a speaker this Sunday up at Guthridge Park in Hiawatha from 4 to 7. So anyone here locally that would like to see me speak, I'm going to be speaking a little bit about what happened to our story, but more importantly about what I'm going to talk about tonight. And that is the project that I've been working on. But CRUSH is a super organization, and I'm happy to be a part of it. I'm currently an active board member of ASAC, the Area Substance Abuse Council here. And I just see CRUSH as being another addition to my portfolio, I guess we can say, in regards to talking to people about heroin, overdoses, substance abuse, all these things that seem to be polarizing us today in society. There's no question a lot of us are hurting. The numbers are through the roof, and I'm going to talk about that in a few minutes. But let's do this. So that much, no more waiting. I'm going to play a short video. It's about 3 minutes long. And I think it'll make it very clear what my announcement is about. So with that, I'll have Molly behind the curtain here play the video, and then I'll come back on when it's over. Stories like these, illnesses, accidents, deaths, tragic and unfortunate, really don't hit home with the same amount of pain and suffering until it becomes personal. On October 4th, 2016 at 6:30 in the morning, this became very personal for me. I have a saying I like to use: purpose becomes passion when it gets personal. I realized on that morning my life had completely flipped, and we were dealt with the worst nightmare for every parent, and that's bearing a child. Seth was found in a hotel room in Waterloo, Iowa, overdosed with heroin laced with fentanyl, needle on the floor, tourniquet on his arm, resting in his chair peacefully. My other two boys, Ian and Roman, and my wife, Prudence, we suddenly realized that we had to do something. He never stayed the same. And I presented an opportunity to the boys that we could take one of two roads. We could take one road of anger, despair, and hatred and become bitter, or we could take a road of inspiration and motivation, and we could use this event to actually become better. And I told them I'm going to go on the better road, and I asked them to join me. It didn't happen overnight. Immediately after this happened, I went straight downhill. My alcoholism increased, drank a lot, and then at one point, I knew how long it could take me to get into my safe, and that's how desperate I got. It took me 7 seconds to open my safe and to find my gun and to end my life. Something inside of me clicked, and I realized that that's not the route I wanted to go. I decided that there was more Seths out there. There was more Jeff Johnsons out there. There was more Prudences, Ian, and Romans out there. So I had to make a difference. Since then, I developed the Living Undeterred project, and I'm super excited to announce that on May 9th, 2022, our family and others will be embarking on the Living Undeterred US tour. And our plan is to change the narrative on mental health, substance abuse, and addiction. We are looking forward to meeting many of you in this journey, whether it's in person or online, as we write the next chapter of this book. Going on the better road versus the bitter road is what this is all about. I ask you to join us by visiting our website at www.livingundeterred.com to volunteer, to sponsor, to help financially, any way that you can, with the ultimate goal of helping all of us that are in pain to change the narrative on mental health, substance abuse, and addiction. So there you go. That's my big plan. You heard it right. We, not just me, there's a group of us, there's a lot of people that are going to be involved in this journey. We are going to every single state over 92 days next summer. And the goal is to change the narrative on mental health, substance abuse, and addiction. And there's other goals as well I'm going to talk about tonight. But I think this will be monumental from the standpoint that there are so many people hurting, so many people. It takes effort to find a statistic that is actually improving. Most statistics are worse. 96,000 people died last year from alcohol abuse. 96,000 people. That was last year. 1 in 5 adults experience some type of mental illness. Think about that. 1 in 5 adults experience some type of mental illness. Suicide rates. Suicide is the 10th leading cause of death in the United States. And think about this statistics. We don't even talk about this statistic. 1 in 4 young girls are sexually abused, and 1 in 6 young boys are sexually abused. So in a room of 10 kids in a normal high school class, there's a chance 2 out of the 10 kids there have been sexually abused. So you have suicidal ideation, alcohol abuse, drug addiction, overdose, anxiety, depression, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. We are a hurting nation, and the narrative needs to be changed. The stigma on some of these things needs to be changed. I just talked about our son Seth, and he was diagnosed with ADD. So they gave him Adderall. So apparently ADD is a bad thing. You're not supposed to have ADD. Let's just give you a pill and set you in a corner and make you look at a wall because you're too hyper. I'm hyper. I have ADD. You know, there's nothing wrong with ADD. It's the way it's presented to our kids today. That's just one. Our story, we're one house on one street in one town in one state in the Midwest. If you can imagine how many other Jeff Johnstons and how many Prudence Johnstons and Seth Carnicles and Romans and Ians that are out there, how many families are touched? Think of the collateral damage with one death. Think of the amount of people that were adversely affected from this, the trauma, the grief, the pain that goes with this for generations. Okay. So that was the motivation behind this, and the actual inspiration, the actual stories, kind of funny because I saw a dad on Twitter that was riding across his state on a bike, raising money for his wife that had breast cancer awareness. And I thought, well, that's pretty cool. I don't want to ride a bike, and I was too small. So I want to do something bigger. So the next day I went out and bought an RV, 34-foot RV. And I thought all night before I went up there how I could do something. And I thought, I have to be hyper-focused. That's just the way I'm wired. And I went out and got an RV with the expectation that we would go on this journey. And then it's really taken off. I've had so many people like Antarctic Mike, who's going to be coming on first tonight, that have been a big part of this. He helped direct this video you just saw. We've had so many people reach out. I see Kenyon Murray, Joanne Kling, I'm sorry, and John Conlon have jumped in and said hi and supported us. So, and I got 9 months to plan this. And then we have 3 months to be on the road. So think of what we can do. Think how many people we can help. And I realized early on that if I made this about me, I would lose its effectiveness. So the whole purpose of this is to hear you. I want to hear the stories of the people out there, the stories that are traumatic and difficult. I want to hear the heroic stories. The people who have started nonprofits and have written books and have raised money. And I can be that platform as I go around in the RV. This dad from Iowa that, I'm not pissed off. I'm just impassioned. I'm motivated. I'm inspired to make a difference. And there's a lot of people out there like me that are going to see this and jump on board. So I'm super excited. So the what, I got a little outline here that I'm going to get in some guests tonight, but I have the what, the when, and the why. So the when is May 9th, 2022. That's when I'm leaving my driveway. I'm not sure where we're going to kick off from, but there's some places in Cedar Rapids here I'd love to start with. And ironically, that's Ian's 21st birthday. So what a way to celebrate his birthday. And the boys are going to go with us on this journey as well for most of the trip. So Roman and Ian are very excited. Our goal is to partner with organizations, facilities that cater to mental health, substance abuse, or addiction, pull into those organizations, have them be kind of a partner in our journey, a state partner, give me an opportunity to speak, give me a platform to talk, get involved with the local media, have an opportunity to meet some people in these cities and in these towns that can tell our story. So I can relate these stories out to the public and just let this thing start snowballing. That's how this stuff works. You just push it over the hill and let it go. This is not about Jeff Johnston. Trust me. I may have opened the door, but I certainly am not the one that's going to fill it full of hope and inspiration. That's going to come from all of you. And so the other neat thing about this is at the end of the goal, at the end of the trip, and I'm going to tell you right now, I'm going to put myself out on a limb here. I'm going to shoot a number at you that may surprise some of you, but those of you that know me, this may not surprise them. I want to raise $1 million. I'm giving you an idea. We have about 15,000 in my nonprofit right now. So $1 million is a big number. How am I going to do that? I don't know. $1 from 1 million people, $2 from 500,000. I don't know. Somebody who's smarter in math. You tell me how to do this. I don't know, but I want to raise $1 million. And my goal is to give 50% of it back to the partners, the states that help sponsor this, that help support us. I'm going to give 50% of it back. And the other 50% is going to go into the Choices Network, our nonprofit. And I'm going to start this off by matching the first $25,000. So anybody out there that donates and starts this ball rolling, and we have a website dedicated to this that you can start donating tonight. I personally, our family, myself, Roman and Ian, we will match $25,000 of the first money that's invested, into this program. So again, that's going to help start. That should get us going. And I'm going to start keeping track, and we're going to get to 1 million. That's going to be our objective. And we're going to help a lot of people along the way. Okay. The last thing I'll get into before the guests come in, there's a lot of reasons why I'm doing this, but for one obvious reason for Jeff Johnston is this is to help me. And if I'm not around, I can't help my two boys. I can't help anybody else in my life. So I have to take care of myself first. So a lot of this is about me, but it's more about my mental health. It's not about my ego. My ego died quite a while ago. And I want to do this to make sure I have something to chase, to have that proverbial carrot dangling in front of me that I can go after. So that is certainly something that is about Jeff Johnston. But as I go on, this is going to be about honoring Seth. This is going to be about honoring Prudence. This is going to be about honoring and talking about all the loved ones that have not only died, but those that will die, the ones that are having the problems right now. The ones that will be the 95,000 that die from alcohol next year. Maybe it's 100,000. Okay. So there's a lot of us out there. We need to do a better job at this. There's no reason with the information out there we can't do better. So I think with that, we are going to bring in our first guest tonight. And the goal tonight is to have people make some comments. We can have some nice conversation. One thing I'd like to throw out there is anyone out there in the comment area. I know someone mentioned food addiction and sex addiction. Absolutely. Those are things to talk about. I was a compulsive gambler in my 20s and 30s. So I think it's important that we talk about gambling addiction as well. But yeah, so anyone have any other things that I'm missing? We have suicidal ideation, sex addiction, gambling. There's so many things we could write down. Obviously, alcohol, opioid addiction. I think just being addicted to being negative. We talk about social media all the time. That can be a problem. There he is, my favorite person that's ever ran a marathon on Antarctica.
Not to mention the only.
Yeah, the only. But my good friend, Mike Pierce, otherwise known as Antarctic Mike. Mike, you're here for a reason, bud. You were here. The initial idea popped in my head. You were one of the first people I talked to. And if I remember right, I told you I was going to do this in 2 weeks.
I remember that call well. I remember you saying, Mike, you're going to be mad at me. I got an idea. I'm going to do something. I'm like, all right, well, what is it? And you were like, I went out and bought an RV. And I'm like, okay, well, that's not really that over the top, I'm like, and then you told me what you wanted to do. And I'm like, okay, well, that's a pretty noble goal to go to all the states and talk about this. But the thing that really almost caused me to fall out of my chair was when you said, I'm leaving in 2 weeks. I'm like, you're not going anywhere in 2 weeks.
I think the quote you and Molly said that you guys were going to murder me. That was what you guys said, I think. So we moved it back to 9 months. So we have a lot of intention now. We can design this the right way. We can do this and help a lot of people. And Mike, you had a big hand in what everyone just saw, the 3-minute little documentary that everyone saw. You had a lot to do with that. What's been your pull to this whole journey I'm on? What's been your inspiration behind this?
Well, the thing that I noticed first was when you told me the story of what happened to Seth, and then you told me that it made you a better person, not bitter. That's kind of when I fell out of the chair, and I'm like, okay, what's behind this? And that's when you and I started talking on the phone and all of that, and then one thing led to the other, and I ended up coming to Cedar Rapids, and I'm like, we have to document this on film. This is a story people need to know about, because that fork in the road, better and bitter, is an intersection all of us are at every single day. I mean, it doesn't take the death of somebody to put us at that fork. And so I think because I saw how many people have to make that choice multiple times a day, I just thought your story and the others collectively can be something that can offer hope and inspiration to people to make the choice to go down the road called better, not bitter.
The great thing for me, Mike, is each day I did 2 podcasts today. I was actually guests on 2 podcasts. I get to hear brand new, fresh stories. They all have a very similar spine or backbone. They all involve pain, maybe deception, maybe hurt, maybe anger. But most of these people have found some way, whether it's quit drinking or going to certain types of meetings or reading motivational books or watching podcasts that are inspirational. People have found ways. Meditation for me has been an absolute lifesaver for me. I can't tell people how much meditation saved. And when I skipped my meditation for a week, you saw what almost happened. I went off the rails for a while there. So again, I think it's all about trying to learn coping mechanisms and those type of things,
And the numbers, Jeff, do you remember we were in Des Moines a couple of weeks ago at the hotel, and we're just standing there, and I noticed 2 police officers, just random cops, walking in the door. And I always say thank you to cops. It's just a habit I formed. And we just got in that conversation with the cops, and it turned out that one of those police officers, because he asked, who are you guys and what are you doing here? And you got into this whole story. And that one random police officer said, I can really use what you guys are doing because I lost my wife to pancreatic cancer. Remember he told us that
I do
story?
Remember that. Yep.
And even today I had a speaking engagement here in Omaha today. And one of the guys came up to me afterwards and he said, because I told your story, how we met and about Seth and all that. And he said to me, I lost my son when he was 14 months old. And I'm thinking to myself, these are just random people.
Right.
And I'm like, imagine if we talk to 100 random people or 1,000 random people. There are going to be many of these stories that are out there. And so many people are touched by, our friend Wayne Coffey back in Baltimore. So many people are just impacted adversely by different types of anguish. be it physical issues with drugs, with alcohol, with pills, be it abuse, be it, I mean, just the list just goes on and on and on. And unfortunately, the numbers are so big, it just really validates the need for what we're doing to change the narrative. Because if you look at our country, quite frankly, we've kind of mocked the whole mental health picture. I think we've made a mockery of it. I mean, the attitude from too many people is, well, look, just get over it.
Right.
Well, you know what? If they could get over it, they would have done so already. It would be a past tense issue. The fact that it's not validates that they can't just turn off a light switch.
Yeah, the interesting dynamic here is, and unfortunately for what we're trying to do, is there's always going to be, a market for this. There's always going to be people that need help. And again, I'm just a dad from Iowa. I have no clinical, I have no clinical experience. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a psychologist. I have a lot of life experiences. I have a lot of philosophy, like stoicism and meditation and things that I've gotten into that have helped me. But I certainly don't have the answer. I have more questions than I have answers. So part of this whole journey is to get out there and meet people and to share these stories and say, hey, I met this guy. He's a researcher, like Patrick Moore is going to be on tonight. He's an individual that's done a lot of research in this area on addiction and pre-habituation. So he's a gentleman that's part of this journey as well that I just seem to be meeting. I'm not sure if I just attract people now like a magnet, or if this is just the world I'm in, where every day I'm going to be meeting with people in this area,
Well, regardless of our credentials, I will tell you this, just because of the shoes that you've walked in and the roads that you've gone down, as well as the roads I've gone down, and people will hear more about my story of being married to Angela for 31 years. Angela has been through tragedy and disability like you can't believe. And when you hear her whole story, you'll fall out of your chair. The point is, I've been married to her for 31 years. I have literally stood side by side for 31 years with somebody who has really needed help in this particular area that we're addressing. And I know what it's like to stand by. And that's a whole nother population of people. Those of us that are standing by supporting the people like the Seths and the Prudences, that's a whole different animal. And how do you do that without falling off the wagon yourself? So there's just, the need is just endless.
Well, I know the guests we have popping on here any minute. Again, it's kind of be fun because it's random. I'm not sure. There he is. There's Ben and there's Steve Grant. So two rock stars in my world. I'm going to do a quick little introduction and then we'll just kind of chat. But Ben is the president of the ASAC organization here in Cedar Rapids. Ben has publicly talked about his sobriety and his I don't know if struggles or battles would be a fair word, Ben, but you've talked about your challenges you've had with sobriety, and as a community leader, as a well-known public figure in Cedar Rapids, for you to be vulnerable, Ben, is absolutely heroic. And then Steve, what can I say about Steve Grant? I lost Seth. I was down. I ran across Steve's book on the internet. And I sent him some cryptic email at 3 a.m. saying, hey, dude, I got to meet you, And, Steve he has only 2 sons, Chris and Kelly. I have 2 of my 3 still with me. So I love Steve. I love Ben. Both you guys have been absolute role models and mentors for me. And I welcome you on the Living Undeterred journey. What say you?
Hey, Jeff, when I first got on and you were talking to Arctic Mike, I was very embarrassed that I had this white T-shirt on. I completely forgot that I was in this white T-shirt. And of course, then when I saw you, I said, well, maybe it's not, maybe that's the outfit we're supposed to wear tonight. I think mine's got a little bit of V-neck collar though.
You guys wear it well. So Ben and
Steve, I don't usually have the Ralph Cramden look every night.
So Ben and Steve, you guys know my story. I know your stories. What compels you to think this journey we're going on is going to help people?
I'll start, Jeff. I mean, you introduced this to the Area Substance Abuse Council board meeting last week or 2 weeks ago. And it seems like the most natural thing for you to do. I would actually, if you didn't do it, I would think that was surprising. I was really taken by, I jumped in to when I signed in midway through your conversation. And I think because of what you pay attention to and what your intentions are, I think that opens up a lot of doors for people. It's kind of like when you buy a car and then you start seeing that kind of car on the road a lot.
Yeah.
You noticed before, but they've always been on the road, but now your awareness, your attention is now opened up. I think that this is probably, you've done some important things in your life. This is probably one of the most important things you'll ever do. And just having random conversations with people, you are able to tap into areas of their life that probably their closest friends and family members may not know. And so to go out on a tour and try and reduce stigma and raise attention and awareness, and what I think is going to be most powerful, Jeff, I mean, anyone can get an RV. Anyone can go do a tour. You're going to connect people in ways that I think is going to be life-saving. And it's one of your greatest gifts, is just connecting with people, and then connecting people within a community so they feel less alone. Mm-hmm. So I think you would be absolutely crazy if you didn't do this tour.
Well, there's going to be room in the RV for you and your family to camp a couple times. So yeah, you can certainly join us on the tour. But hey, Steve, I have to tell you though, the $1 million goal that I had, I got that from you, because when I first met you, I had heard you raised $1 million for the Chris and Kelly Hope Foundation. So why don't you tell everybody a little bit about that, and why you think this is such a needed event that we're doing?
Well, I think it's neat, and I worry about Jeff at times in the beginning, and I still worry about him a little, because this is not for why you're laughing at, Mike, maybe not. But the reason is it took me the death of my first son in 2005, and then the next death in 2011. And if you read the book or you know my story, I never thought I was going to help anybody. I mean, I love helping people, but I never thought I was going to take this leap and start a foundation and all these kind of things, right? I certainly didn't even think about, well, is it time? I just one day I was challenged about what my legacy was going to be in life at a boot camp by these two guys who today are worldwide national speakers, and in Greenville, South Carolina. And I just stood up and said, I think I want to do everything I can to help adolescents and young adults who struggle with addiction and substance abuse and mental illness. And I don't know why I said it. I had no idea in that parking lot I was going to say it, because I had no idea that question was going to be asked of me, and I never really thought about the answer. But I left the line in the sand that night, and I just ran with it. But I was maybe more prepared to run with it, but it was 2 weeks after my second son had died. So, but it was 6 years or 5 years or so since my first son passed away. And here's this guy calling me from Cedar Rapids, and sends me this note in the middle of the night, and he's read my book 3 times. Oh, by the way, it just happened, a few months ago, less than a year ago, or whatever, right? And I'm going, oh my goodness, this is too soon. This is way too soon for this fellow to be, saving the world, and when talking about this, because I meet a lot of parents who have great intentions. And at the first, it comes out very emotional in the beginning. Right. That's normally when you see it. I want to help, but then all of a sudden it wanes and it fades. I work through the Community Foundation of Greenville, and that guy who runs it says, Steve, I get so many people that come through this door every year, and they have an idea and they have a passion, but it fizzles out, and you kept going, you kept going. And I said, well, I had a very meaningful reason to do it. Not that nobody has a meaningful reason to do anything that they're passionate about, but, I have to admit, when Jeff started this, so I wasn't surprised when he came to me, actually before his spouse died, a month or so before, and said, hey, I'm going to ride around the country in a van, or an RV. And I'm going, holy shit, is he going to come to Greenville? Really? Where's he going to park? Where's he going to park that thing? Am I going to get in it? What am I going to do? I know my wife's not going to join me, I said, so I'm excited about it. I think it's going to be, to answer the question you gave to Ben, I said it's going to raise a lot of awareness. I think that you have to get a message across, sometimes you have to be different. And Jeff's different. I'm different, so I think that's how you get messages across. It's so I'm excited for him, and I'm proud of him to do it.
Steve, you knew that behind you there was another Steve Grant.
Sure,
and in the name of
I'm sad that there is,
right,
but I'm excited that because one day I'm gonna leave it to you guys.
Right.
I'm 63 years old. I've got my second wife, and these weren't her kids, and not that she's tired of hearing about these two boys that she never met, but it's time for pass the torch, and I've told you that, Jeff. And that doesn't mean that's imminent, but it's because it's not. But it's I'm hoping that unfortunately it's going to continue the 90,000 deaths in 2020. It's going to continue to continue to have people like you and I that are going to rise up and help. And I wish there was a day when we didn't have to have people like you and I rise up and help.
Well, I know behind me there's another Jeff Johnston. So, hey, Steve and Ben, thanks a lot. You guys are awesome. I really appreciate your support.
We're done?
Yeah, you guys are out of here. I got two more coming in. I got two more behind you. So.
Oh, I didn't know that. I can turn Fox News on now again.
Yeah, you can.
All right, I'm taking the mute button off Fox News.
Oh, man.
All right, well, you guys have nice meeting you guys. It's a very serious topic, but I'd like to join levity in this. So thank you,
Jeff.
Have
to. Thank you, too.
Bye now.
All right. Hey, John and Sam, you just saw Ben and Steve, and they've been great friends and ambassadors and partners. And I bring two more in, people that I consider the same thing, friends, ambassador, partners, John Stadtmuller and Sam Gary. So, John, what can I say about you, bud? You and I have been on the phone late nights, talking each other off the ledge, having very, very great inspirational conversations, but having some that we each needed some care and some tenderness in helping each other through our own personal things we're going through. So I value your friendship as a business associate, but 10 times more as a human friend. So John, do you want to start this off, and then I'll jump it over to Sam in a second?
Yeah. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
So,
excellent.
Yeah, like you say, late nights talking. And Jeff, I've told you many times, if you help no one else, the impact that you've personally had in my life, I can't thank you enough. I can't tell you how much you have meant to me, how much you continue to mean to just really what I'm pursuing in life. And even just that post a couple of weeks ago, Jeff, where you're a lot of people notice your vulnerability, and that's one of your really unique traits that really does set you apart. And when you talked about having that tough weekend and the situation you're in, just how vulnerable, how real you are, how much you acknowledge that it's not a perfect science. You were talking earlier about meditation and how important it is, right, to keep those things up. And so just like you said, the late night talks, you're just being able to lean on you, continue to be inspired by you. Like I said, if you impact no one else, I know you've had a massive impact in my life, and I know this tour and the impact of the people that you are touching, it's only going to grow. And so anyway, thank you. I really appreciate being here.
Well, we'll come back to you. Sam, how's it going, man?
Good. How are you?
I don't know where to start with you, Sam. You have been, for being 19 years old, the impact that you have had. I tell you what, I wasn't doing what you were doing at 19, dude. I tell you that. Neither was Antarctic Mike, and neither was John. I'll guarantee you that. What you're doing is absolutely heroic, Sam. And for those people who don't know what Sam is doing, Sam came out a couple years back. Ian, my golfer son, met Sam on the golf circuit through the AJGA, and Sam was talking about suicidal ideation. And I'll be honest with you, I knew what suicide attempts were and what suicide was. I had never heard of the term suicidal ideation. Never heard of it. And so I talked to Sam about it, and he said, well, it's having thoughts of suicide. And so, I thought, well, okay, that's one thing. But then I got to thinking, man, Sam, you're at a very young age to be talking about this, dude. I mean, But the fact is that you're talking about it is what makes it heroic, because a lot of your friends that are having these thoughts, and I'll tell you what, I've had these thoughts as well, as recent as just a few weeks ago when I put the post up, when I just had a really, really bad weekend, that I was terrified, Sam, that these thoughts could actually entertain my brain. So Sam, I think the world of you. I look up to you much more than you look up to me, and you're going to have to just trust me on that. Sam, you're the co-founder of the Kick It for a Cause kickball tournament, which the RV is going to be hopefully parking and playing next year. Team Johnston is going to be out there kicking butt. So, but anyway, tell me a little bit about you and why you think this tour is so needed, Sam.
Yeah, absolutely. And really, first off, kind of echoing what John said, if you feel like you're not having an impact, John said like himself, you've had an incredible impact on me for so many different reasons. You know, the connection we've been able to make, and your vulnerability is something that's really lost, especially in social media today, which is something that's incredible, and I really admire you for, as most people do. But about your tour, the one thing that I really appreciate, and I think this is going to be such a tremendous success. And unfortunately, obviously, there's that tie between addiction, mental illness, and suicide. And one of the biggest problems, in my opinion, and why suicide prevention and a lot of these interventions oftentimes fail, is because there's oftentimes a lack of effective outreach. And this is effectively what you're doing by going on this tour around the country, spreading your message. You're doing that in a way that has never really been done before, at least never in a way that I've seen it. Most of the time it's certain initiatives telling people to reach out to providers and that sort of thing. Studies have shown that doesn't work. So I think by doing what you're doing, by taking the extra step and really making this as big of a deal as it is, and doing what you're doing, I think you're going to change so many lives. And I like I said before, I really admire you for it. So thank you for having me on this journey, and I'm beyond appreciative of it.
I just thought of a question, Sam. I'm not sure I've ever asked you this, but what was the first age that you had suicidal ideation?
So I first struggled with suicidal thoughts when I was around 16. So where 16 was when I really started to get into the advocacy. First had suicidal thoughts when I was around 14, 15. So when I was in 8th grade. Wow. And then, like I said, I first shared my story with the AJGA at 16. It had taken me quite a bit of time to decide that I wanted to do that, and understandably so, with such a touchy topic. So yeah, it was really right when I was making that transition into high school.
I was just curious about that, because there is really no age minimum or maximum for suicide. And if you look in the back here, my Metal Church poster, that's one of my favorite heavy metal bands of all time. And Mike Howe, 2 months ago, the lead singer for Metal Church, one of my childhood heavy metal singer icons, committed suicide at the age of 55. You know, my age. So I grew up with this guy. I watch him. I have all of his albums. Metal Church is one of my, Iron Maiden, Judas Priest. They're one of my favorite bands. This guy was 55. He had it all. I mean, he was healthy. He didn't drink. As far as I know, he didn't drink. But he killed himself. So it's like, 14 or 15, you're having these thoughts. 55-year-old guy that's unbelievably successful in the eyes of other people. So we all have demons, I guess, so to speak, as a metaphor. I don't literally believe in demons, but I think metaphorically I do. But we all have something inside of us that needs to be released. And I think this tour has an opportunity to do that through all of us sharing these stories. John, I go back and talk with you a lot, and you're in the financial services industry. And I know there's an individual that's currently writing a book. I was actually interviewed for her book. And I thought it was really interesting because her book is basically on the wealth and the health of our industry, and specifically the health. And a lot of financial professionals are very, very miserable in what they're doing.
Yeah, unfortunately, I mean, there's such a strong tie-in in so many aspects of life. As Sam was saying, like, there's one of the things that I wanted to echo is how important it is to be proactive in this tour. Like, Jeff, you and I talked about this, some of the down moments, I don't even know why it is, but it's at the time that you need it the most is when it's the hardest to pick up the phone and reach out. And so to put that out and to be in front of, out in front of people and kind of put it in people's faces. It's so important, and there's so many different areas in industries and individuals, but certainly financial services, the clients, the advisors. Like you said, there's people that are just miserable, and the thing that you and I have talked about that the concept that I really have clung to is when you started talking about financial hoarders, where and it could be clients or it could be the advisors, where it's like, what is your motivation? Is it just to have money, just to hold it? Like, is that it? Is it to spend it? What is the motivation behind it? And if you can't define that, it is going to be a recipe for disaster.
Hey, can I take, there's a comment here by Robin. I hope I get this right. Hauser Hawes. And this is important, guys. This is very impactful for me. She says, speaking for myself, parents never get over their child committing suicide. It's 6 years and we are still wondering what we could have done differently. It never gets easier. My son committed suicide. I had him hospitalized several times to get help. Wow. Robin, thanks so much for being vulnerable enough. And I'm sure over the 6 years, you've retold this story ad nauseum. But I often ask myself this question: if Seth would have died by suicide versus overdose, would I be treating this differently? And I have to honestly believe that maybe I would have been, because I think even though they both resulted in the same effect, I think as a parent, you wonder maybe if you could have done more. And I have given up that quest of trying to, and I call this kind of torturing myself. And I did everything I could. And again, Robin, I don't know your situation very well, but just the fact that you had him hospitalized demonstrates that you were there trying your best. And, I don't know if I told my two boys, Roman really struggled with this early, Robin, when his older brother died. Roman said, Dad, I can't get over his death. And I said, Roman, I think that's setting yourself up for failure. I don't think you can get over it. I don't think it's possible to get over it. I think you need to absorb his death into your life and understand that it's not about getting over it. It's about absorbing his death and making your life better. Honor the dead, live for the living. And that's something that I try to think of myself every day. So Robin, thank you so much for the comments. I'm going to run into people like you every day. And I don't know the right answer, but I know, like I told Mike today when I was talking to him, I said, I can't tell people what the right ways are to grieve, but I certainly can tell you the wrong ways.
Jeff,
there are certain.
Can you put that comment up by Robin again for just a second?
Yeah, it's awesome. And I appreciate her comment there.
It's funny. I went to high school with Robin.
Okay. Well,
that's how she knows about this. And, it validates the fact that somebody very close at hand to all of us and all of us listening is somebody who could be on the edge of the cliff. And it doesn't necessarily mean you're on the edge of the cliff like I'm going to commit suicide. It just could be like I spent the morning today in Omaha and I met with a guy named Ben Schaefer. Ben Schaefer is a musician, and Ben's whole goal in life was to get in front of big audiences and make a lot of money as a musician. And he was telling me the story about how he ended up playing a concert one night in front of 50,000 people live. And he was looking at the microphone in front of him as he was singing the song. And he was thinking to himself, this is not it. This is not purpose. This is not all there is. And he got out of that. And now he started a nonprofit here in Omaha that's using music lessons to cater to kids who are basically in the gutter going nowhere. And these kids' lives are turning around. And I mean, the point is that it might be somebody who's already on the edge of suicide, like the guy from Metal Church, or it could be a guy like Ben Schaefer, he's not going to commit suicide tomorrow, but he knows he's not found a purpose. And I really believe a big part of the cause of a lot of the struggles of a lot of people that we're going to meet is they're like a ship that's kind of drifting without a rudder. They just don't have a purpose and a cause in their life. And if they did, and I think that, when it takes, when you go through a very unfortunate event, Jeff, like you have, Robin, like you have, and like others have, that can really help spur, hey, this is a cause. I can't go back in time. I can't question myself. I can't bring somebody back. But you know what I can do? I can make a difference in the next Seth's life, the next Prudence's life, whoever it happens to be. And that's a cause and that's a purpose.
Well, connectivity and talking is obviously very key. Hey, guys, I got to let you guys go. Sam and John, thanks so much for being on tonight. I'm going to be seeing you guys on the tour. There's room in the I'll call it a van now. That's kind of funny, but there's room for sure for everybody. But again, I got to let you guys go. We got 2 more people waiting on. So again, Sam, John, love you guys. Thanks very much.
Yeah, thank you.
Jeff, is this going to be the van down by the river?
Apparently.
Oh,
Hey, what's up? My 2 brothers from another mother, 3 brothers from another mother. Wow. All right.
What's up,
All right.
man?
Brian and Anthony and Patrick, great to see you guys. Hey, because of time constraints, I'm just going to start off with Brian, and you guys just talk a little bit about yourself, why you think I invited you on this tour, and why you think it's important that we're doing this. So we'll go Brian, Anthony, and Patrick.
Yeah, I think probably just from my experience in the field, and we've talked a lot on a personal level, through the podcast and phone calls and things like that, with just both of our whys kind of cross paths. And I think this is the culmination of that. And so to invite me along the way, man, I'm super grateful. I think that so many folks out there hurting, and I think it just makes good sense to put the word out, and you're doing it in a very direct and intentional way. And that's just, it's classy. I respect it. It makes sense. And I think there's lives to be saved. So good on you.
Well, I value the friendship, Brian. You and I've had many, many good talks. I remember when we first met, you even called me up like a few days afterwards, said, "Hey, dude, I just looked at your profile, man. You don't even look the same." Because I quit drinking, I lost 35 pounds, and I think you were trying to say I looked better. But that's what shock does to you sometimes. It just kind of makes you realize that, hey, the road I was on, even before Seth died as an alcoholic, I was just not on a very good road,
Yeah.
But here I am now. I'm surrounded by people like you guys and the people that I'm going to meet. We're going to meet, because it's not about me. This is a we story. It's important I make that clear. This is a we story.
Can't wait to see you in South Florida, man.
I'll be there, brother. All right, Anthony, you're up, man.
Hey, Jeff. You and I connected over LinkedIn when I think I saw a post of yours regarding what had happened to Seth and your journey. And then also, so you and I talked for a bit, have had some great conversations. Also, you shared with me your journey and Roman's journey, and our paths kind of intersected there, and we were able to connect with a mutual connection there. So, I really relate to your story, not because I lost someone in the ways that you have, but certainly drug abuse and alcoholism runs in my family. I've seen it. I can trace it back through generations, along with other things, depression, which are all interconnected. So I think there's definitely a message, out there that needs to be delivered. And it's a great opportunity to let people really connect on a different level.
Well, your ability to tell stories, your writing is awesome. Your interviews are great, and I've really enjoyed. I've met some really neat people through you that I think can be important cogs in this journey. Definitely as we get rolling out there. But again, appreciate what you're doing, Anthony. Really, really appreciate your support. Patrick, we've anointed you the mad scientist of the group. Because it took me 3 times to read this book to understand half of it.
Dude, no kidding. Oh my gosh.
But it's a great book. I may have to read it again tonight to understand the second half. But why don't you tell me a little bit about you, Patrick? And then unfortunately, I got some more people waiting off stage. So I'll give you a couple minutes, Patrick. Thanks.
Just show the film. Don't try to figure out what it is. Just show it to people, which is why I'm interested in what you're doing, of course, because I do what you do and what you've been talking about, what everybody's been talking about. How can we make the world a better place? The Calvary is not coming for this kind of thing. We're it. We're the Calvary.
It's true.
I'm going to be the guy that flies into the ass end of the UFO
I'll be with you too, brother.
And blows it up.
That's funny.
I love your approach, and what attracted me, I early on this whole journey was a demand side observer. In other words, or an advocate. The supply side chasing big pharma, going after drug cartels. I'm not Rambo. I'm certainly not gonna be in a courtroom and some, silver tongue trying to destroy big pharma. No, but I certainly can talk to kids before they get into these situations. And that's what your book got my attention, Patrick. So in 1 minute, tell me a little bit about your book, and then I got to move on to a couple more people hanging out on the stage.
It works like this. You warn them. I want to teach them. Both are good, but they're really good if they work together. So that's it. That's all there is to it. We're all on the same page. It's a faith first. Living undeterred to me is faith versus fear, or lower the numbers, or combat demoralization, or encourage autonomy. All those things are the same thing together. And we can get ahead of the curve. If we get ahead of the curve, we will lower the numbers. So
well, I agree.
You're taking action. That's your superpower. You're taking action. Nobody can stop you.
Hey, since you brought up UFOs, I was happier in hell. Listen, I was happier in hell that I was going to go to Roswell. I was so happy I was going to Roswell till I learned you were in Roswell, Georgia. And I thought, man, there goes my chance to meet the aliens.
We got aliens here, don't worry.
Well played.
All right, guys. We'll see. Have a good night.
You ride, so I ride with you. So thank you.
Hey,
right,
love you,
guys.
love you, brother. Look forward to seeing you, man.
Take it easy.
Thanks,
brother.
Jeff.
Thanks. See you later, Mike.
Wow.
All right, we got Mr. Kenyon Murray and Mr. Dan Walterman and Molly, 3 of the 4, or there's 5 board members. So I was going to wrap up the show tonight. I do have a little bit, about a 5-minute little wrap up here, but Molly and Dan and Kenyon and myself and Doug Wagner, we comprise the Choices Network first board of directors, along with my son Roman, who's our youth ambassador. So Dan and Kenyon, you guys have been hanging out. I really appreciate your participation on the board. Why do you think this tour is so needed in society today?
Dan can take it.
Dan?
I tell you what, I think I'm really excited about this, and I'll tell you the reason why I think we need this bad. There's such a stigma out there, I think, with, whatever abuse it is, whether it's physical abuse, sexual abuse, or addictions, whether it's alcohol, drug abuse, sex abuse, working, what have you, that, a lot of people are scared or ashamed to come forward with that, whether it's due to their, the parents of their kid or their environment or just society itself. That the fact that you're bringing this out, bringing this to the forefront, it's amazing. If there's any one good thing that's happened from this COVID pandemic, it's that a lot of mental issues have kind of come to the forefront.
Right.
We're maybe a little bit more
true.
aware of that now. If there's anything we can take out of this thing that's good, that's one of them. I think we're kind of more aware of it now, and I think it's a great opportunity. It's great timing, I guess I'll say.
Right.
I don't know if I like to put it that way, but realistically, it's a good time because everybody's a little bit more aware of it, and I think we can all here agree that Jeff is like an open book. You can tell him anything, and he is 100% into it. He's listening. He's understanding. He's not judging. I mean, we've already talked about aliens and what have you. So, I mean, you know what I mean? So, I mean, you could throw anything, and he's going to be encouraged about it rather than judgmental. And I think, Jeff, you got a heck of a outgoing personality that you're just easy to talk to, where people can come up to you, complete strangers, and this, come up to you and discuss issues that they've never told anybody else their entire life. And to be able to do that from state to state to state, and to help those resources. I think it's an amazing opportunity, and I'm glad to be part of it.
Well, I
think it's really good. And by the way, I just want to announce, just in case nobody else knows, I held a board meeting by myself, and I have voted 100% confirmed I will be driving the bus for at least 1 month.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome.
And
I love that.
Mike, you're running navigator for me. Shot.
I love that because I'll be a problem driving that thing. Okay, Kenyon. All right, man. Wrap this up. Then I have a little summary I want to hit here, but you've been a friend for a very, very long time, and I really, really look up to your mentorship, your faith, your friendship, and I'm honored to have you on the board. We had a great lunch today, but why do you think this is an important and imperative time for us to be doing something like this?
Well, I think the most important thing about it is about connecting to other people. I think every state you go to, whoever you're talking in front of, they will have heard a story similar to yours, but maybe there's something in your story with your family and what you've gone through that really connects to someone in the audience, whether it's a parent or someone that's struggling and going through this. I think you bring a fresh breath you will bring fresh breath to people in every state you go to. And maybe it's something in your speech or maybe a comment or somebody asks a question and that answer or your response is going to be able to connect to that person. So you doing this is needed because we need more champions like this. And so I'm excited for you. Your addictive personality is going to make you really, really successful. It's going to continue to drive you. And I know that you will have nothing but success on this trip because you don't see it any other way. This is going to be something that's going to bring so much good, whether it's financial, words of wisdom, connection, and you're going to help a lot of people across the country. So whatever little part I have in that, I'm excited for, but I think you have the ability to connect to people, and that's really what we need right now. Going to COVID, we've been so separated. We haven't been able to get together, and this is going to be something that hopefully brings people together, galvanizes them, and inspires them to go out and help the people in their community. So I'm excited for this, and I know it will be a success because you're running it. So I'm excited.
Well, like I said, this is a big we journey, so I'm super excited. I can't wait to see you driving the RV down the interstate, Kenyon. That's going to be awesome. That's going to be awesome.
I don't know. Everybody complains about my driving in the house, so I'm not sure if I'll be.
Hey, listen, guys, I'm gonna have to wrap this up. I got a few minutes. I want to kind of talk a little bit about how people can get involved because a lot of people are wondering. Okay, this is great, Jeff. I'm excited, but how do I get involved? I can't go with you. I can't do this. I can't do that. But I do have some things here I want to talk about how people can get involved. Again, I want to thank everybody tonight for coming on. This was an hour. It went very, very fast. I'm going to have about 5 minutes here. I'm going to wrap things up. But the way people can help, we have 9 months to plan this thing. So you don't have to stress tonight. And I have a feeling that after this gets out there and gets reposted and reshared, that we're going to be in front of a lot of people that have a dog in the hunt, let's say, with this project. As evident by tonight, every guest I had on had some personal reason why they're doing this stuff. The first thing is you can join our team. We're looking for volunteers and employees. That's right, employees to help plan and organize the tour. I am planning on hiring employees. Now, ultimately, I'd like to have volunteers. As a nonprofit, that would be the preferred way, but I know that that's tough to do. So at some point, we are going to have a lot of people that are going to have to be juggled and organized and get the states all set up. And so I may have anywhere from 2 to 3 employees. So we have a website. It's right there on the screen, livingundeterred.com. If you're interested in being a volunteer or an employee, you can submit an application, tell a little bit about your story. It may be a little while before we get to you. Right now, it's just Molly and I manning the ship. But Molly's pretty good at following through on these things pretty quickly. So again, like you said, the good news is we have a lot of time to plan this, but I think the spots are going to fill up very, very quickly. We're also looking for photographers and videographers, people that can document this. There's an opportunity to, I guess some people may be possibly looking at doing a documentary on this. And so I want to throw that out there, that there may be an opportunity for a film crew to do a lot of filming on this and to present this as a story. So when we're done, we can look back on this and we can talk about how this started and how it ended. And then the real journey begins after the tour is over. How do we continue helping people? This doesn't end when the wheels come up, when we're done with the tour. And then you can be a partner organization. That's really, really another key part of this story. And these would be if you own or work at, or you volunteer at an organization or a facility that caters to mental health, substance abuse, or addiction, and you want that organization in a state to be the partner state. Now, what's in it for you, right? Well, I think there's a lot in it. First of all, tremendous amount of goodwill, tremendous amount of charity in this. Obviously, we'll be promoting your organization through our journey. And at the very end, when we make our grants, we're giving half of the money I raise. So our goal is $1 million. So we'd have almost $500,000 to play with. Our goal is to hand this money back out and make sure that the participating states that support us and our partners in this journey can get some money back to help us on this. So there's going to be a mutual benefit there from that perspective. Be a sponsor. Obviously, there's certain people that just can't go. They don't run an organization, but they'd like to help out. Well, you can write a check. I mean, we're not going to turn away money. This is going to be a very costly endeavor. You could sponsor different parts of the trip. We're on a journey like this, we're going to have lots of things that we're going to need help with, lots of sponsorship. So again, submit the application, tell your story. We can talk about this. We do have the website now is running, and you can make donations and the money will go right be allocated toward the Living Undeterred tour. Again, I'm matching the first 25,000 personally. So the quicker we get to that, the quicker I can be removed from my money, I guess, which is a good thing. And then share your story. There's going to be people that just simply can't or don't want to get involved, but they want to share their story. So we have an opportunity for you to do so. I can then share your story publicly through the podcast, through my blogs. So if you have an important story, I know we had Robin tonight talking about her son. What a great opportunity for us to hear her story. And I would hope that at some point I can talk to her off the record and get to know her a little bit better and see if there's any way I can help. Maybe there's someone I know that works in that area that can help her. So sharing the story is going to be an important part. And then obviously, like I said earlier, the donations are huge. This will be driven by donations. I am committing. Someone asked me what my budget was. My budget's my last penny. I've lost 2 people I care about immensely. And I don't plan on taking my money with me when I die. So I'm going to do the best that I can with what I got. And if I run out of money, I'll go borrow money. I'm going to figure out a way to get this done. This project is going to happen. So with that, I know we do have Mike wanted to jump in real quickly to say a few words, but I want to thank everybody again. You can subscribe on the Living Undeterred website as well. I'm still going to continue with the blogs. I'm going to continue with the podcasts. Nothing from that perspective is going to change. Matter of fact, I'm going to have so many people we're going to meet that I'm not going to have any problem running out of content. So, Mike, we're going to circle back to you to help wrap this up. But again, thank you very, very much for what you do. And Molly, I don't know what I would do without you. There's a reason why there's a 2-page acknowledgement in my book for you. I don't do this if you're not involved in my life. So thank you for that.
That's why I wanted to come back before you ended. I wanted to say we would be remiss if we didn't say thank you to the director behind the curtain, right? Every great performance has a director behind the curtain, and nobody knows who the director is. That young lady is the director. That young lady is the pilot of this ship. And I just wanted the public to know how much Molly contributes. She is immensely talented. The things she has done, even in the last few hours, the last few days, to even get this train to leave the depot, so to speak, has been immense. And Molly, this is going to fill a purpose in your life that you just have no idea what is to come. The people you will touch indirectly and directly are going to be indebted to you forever. And it'll fill your own bucket in a way that you've never known before. So I just wanted the public to know that we are very grateful for the people that the public doesn't always see. And that's people like you. So just wanted to say thank you for the contributions you've already made and that you will continue to make.
Thanks. I'm excited about this.
Go ahead, Molly. I want you to. We have half an hour left. Go ahead.
We're done.
I have to tease Molly all the time because she. Yeah, you're right, Mike. It's every great project has somebody behind it running it, and there's just absolutely no way that this gets done.
Wait, where's our mascot?
Opie? He's in Vermilion. He actually went
that's
to.
right. He's in South Dakota. I forgot about that.
They took my cat. They took my cat. So, hey, again, thank you guys. Right now, this is kind of the backbone of Team Undeterred, and it's going to expand, and it's going to be life-changing for us. But the real story is the people that we're about to meet, and we have 9 months. We have 9 months to tee this thing up, and when wheels hit the cement and we take off from Cedar Rapids, it's going to be an absolutely awe-inspiring journey. And then when we get back, that's when we really figure out what we're going to do with all
that's
this
when
stuff.
The work starts.
Yeah. That's when I can't let all this knowledge and talent and conversations go to waste. So we will have something available for people at some point. So again, guys, thanks a lot. I think that's a wrap. Again, go to livingundeterred.com. That's where I would suggest you go to start. I am grateful. I'm happy in my life right now. I'm honored to be having this opportunity. I miss Seth immensely. I miss my wife Prudence immensely, and I will be doing this for the rest of my life in some capacity. So, with that, it's a wrap. Thank you very much, everybody. Have a good night, and as always, live undeterred. Thank you.